With the NFL being the billion-dollar entity that it is, it's no mystery as to why it would promote shows that would grant fans more access to its most valuable asset, the players. TV shows like Tackle My Ride serve as extra marketing for the league, demonstrating its players as humanitarians and model citizens, setting forth the notion that there's honorable men in a violent sport. And while that's certainly true, not all men are saints. Perhaps now more than ever, the NFL has been very cautious about its image to the public. More importantly, its money. Negative coverage of any player misdeeds are bad for the image, and if it's bad for the image, it's bad for the profits. To deter poor behavior of its players, the NFL enacted the personal conduct policy in 2007. This gave Commissioner Roger Goodell unchecked power to punish players for any actions away from the field. But absolute power corrupts absolutely. Without clear outlines of his power, this has led to inconsistent and arguably unfounded suspensions in an attempt to protect the brand. So what if I told you, hypothetically, that the NFL was insistent upon pressuring a TV network to cancel its third highest rated show because possibly it was casting its players, albeit fictional depictions of pro players, in a negative light? You might be able to see why, especially given today's social climate. Also, let's take that scenario a step further and mention that said program was airing on a network that also broadcasts NFL games. Well, the scenario I just outlined for you, it's not entirely hypothetical. In fact, it actually took place, except this wasn't in recent memory nor at the peak of Colin Kaepernick's protests or even during the fallout of the Ray Rice incident. Let's rewind to 2003. The show I'm talking about is Playmakers, a gritty, brash, and provocative imagining of the life of a pro football player. The show was not the first of its kind. 1999's Any Given Sunday, starring Jamie Foxx and Al Pacino, provided a realistic and honest take of what life as a pro might be like. And if you haven't seen it, I'd highly recommend it. But in regards to TV, Playmakers broke new ground. For starters, the show aired on ESPN, who at the time was the unquestioned leader in sports coverage, and didn't have a similar program like it on the network. At first, the show was set to air on FX, but when plans fell through, ESPN, looking to expand its programming and viewership, picked up Playmakers. The series premiered August 26, 2003, during the final week of the NFL preseason. The premiere broadcast to almost 2.1 million homes, and those that tuned in got exactly what the series trailer had promised: a true life telling of pro football life, geared to mature audiences. The show follows the Cougars, a pro football team in an unnamed city, where the point of view is told primarily from the perspective of running backs Leon and Demetrius Harris, better known as DH. Leon is a vet coming back from a torn ACL, and with a reduced role on the team, can see the writing on the wall, while DH, a first-round pick, occupies the starting job Leon once had and seeks to get back, establishing a rivalry amongst the two players. Playmakers does a great job of showing us the struggles of the Cougars, but delves deeper in the complexities of its core members. For example, in the second episode, it's shown to us, unbeknownst to each other, Leon and DH are different, yet so similar. We follow DH and Leon and the consequences of their choices leading up to a drug test and a visit from the piss man. DH, who has a drug problem, is told by management a week earlier that he will be tested. However, unable to avoid drugs, has to go to great lengths to avoid failing the test, asking for clean pee and undergoing a secret procedure. In contrast, Leon, looking for an edge to compete, takes PEDs, and after a series of unfortunate circumstances, finds himself also possibly facing the piss man. But this is where the similarities end. Leon is ashamed of his actions and feels remorse. Not only that, he has to admit that his choice may affect his family, whereas DH shows no regret and is very comfortable with the actions he's taken to cheat the system.
You want to tell him what you did, how you beat him, how you kicked his ass.
The show also gives a rare take on the subject of domestic violence and how it affects the associated parties, namely the family of the accused. Leon and his wife have an argument, which ends up with her being pushed down the stairs. At first, she's willing to cover for him, but the stress of the incident forces Leon to say what actually happened. Naturally, the sports media worked quickly in discussing how it should be handled following his admission of domestic violence. In fear of the ramifications, he overcompensates. He tries to minimize the issue by choosing to cooperate with the DA's office, offering to go to counseling and do community service in a means to dissuade the DA from taking a case against him. In the end, it means nothing. He still gets suspended, still faces a charge, and still faces public scrutiny, and is forced to make the difficult choice between making the scandal go away or clearing his name. Lastly, Playmakers addresses the subject of a football player being exposed as gay and the ripple effects it would cause in a locker room. Gerwitz, the team's receiver, lives a double life as a closeted gay player. He attempts to hide who he is from his teammates and goes the extent of keeping a straight relationship to further get away from who he really is. Eventually, he can't keep up the lie and is outed by his former partner to the team at practice. This fractures the roster, and Gerwitz has to deal with teammates who won't accept him and an owner who doesn't want a distraction, but seemingly on a more interpersonal level is unaccepting of his lifestyle. There are a few who are supportive, but this underlines how the topic can separate a locker room. With no other option amidst the speculation about being gay, he admits to the rumors to his teammates after being elected as an All-Pro.
I guess there's no reason keeping it secret now. I mean, y'all already know anyways, so. I'm the best player on this team. I'm also gay. How does that make you feel, guard dog? Knowing that a queen is gonna represent you on the All-Star team? Or that a sinner got more votes than you? Good luck saying I don't belong now, that there's no place on the team for someone like me. Now, 5 years ago, no one wanted to see a black quarterback, and you know why? Well, they're too dumb. Are you too stupid to play the game, Trent? I mean, is it too difficult for you?
Trying to listen to this shit.
What I do off the field, who I am, that's none of your damn business. All you are allowed to care about is whether or not I help this team win. If the answer is yes, then I stay. If it's no, then I'm gone. And that's all that matters. Everything else, you worried about me coming on to you in the shower? Man, whatever. That's bullshit. But you want to stew on it? You go ahead. But I suggest that you find a way to deal with it. Because I'm not going anywhere.
The season finale saw almost as many viewers as the premiere, and as many would expect the show to come back the following season. Except it didn't. While it made for great TV, the assumed likeness between the Cougars and the NFL was too much for the NFL to ignore. Before the first episode hit the airwaves, former Commissioner Paul Tagliabue was angered by a commercial for the show that broadcast during the Hall of Fame game, and in response, banned ESPN from airing promos for the show during Sunday Night Football. Over time, however, that wasn't enough. With the show gaining in popularity, it made the NFL more uncomfortable. The commissioner stayed openly critical, calling the show, quote, a gross mischaracterization of our sport, and also, quote, I didn't think that was either appropriate for ESPN or right for our players, end quote. It would seem that ESPN would also agree. A few days after the incident involving Janet Jackson and Justin Timberlake, ESPN would inform the creative staff of Playmakers that they were not coming back for a second season, which led many to speculate this choice was due in part by an ongoing negotiation with the NFL and ESPN over the rights to broadcast NFL games. ESPN and the NFL publicly maintained It was strictly a choice made by ESPN, with the network indicating it was never their intent to upset the NFL, but to do the show for a second season would be making it worse. To give ESPN some credit, staffers had said that ESPN never asked them to alter or scale back the graphic content and were very supportive. On the other hand, John Eisendrath, the creator of the series, has a far different view as it relates to the NFL. He believed that the cancellation had in fact been dictated by the NFL and that ESPN had simply backed down. Quote, "I think they're wrong, and I think they're bullies. They're a monopoly. It's offensive to me that they would bully ESPN that way." End quote. And by all accounts, it would seem that both ESPN and the NFL were looking out for their best financial interests. However, what's more interesting is that, according to the Playmakers staff, no plot lines were inspired by any inside information on the NFL. ESPN didn't provide any informants, nor did any former players drop info on the goings-on behind closed doors. Apparently, the show had stumbled upon how the NFL really operated, and the NFL wanted to keep that hidden from the public, with even NFL Network's Deion Sanders indicating that it accurately depicted the dark side of the NFL. I also have to mention how the show drew similarities to future NFL events. Watching the Pissman episode reminded me of Von Miller trying to bribe a sample collector to pass a drug test, or even Leon sitting with the news outlet to discuss his role in domestic violence. Is a lot like the Ray Rice interview with his then fiance. With only one season and 11 episodes in its catalog, the legacy of Playmakers will always be how it pulled back the mask the NFL shows the world versus the mask they put on behind closed doors. As always, if you enjoyed the video, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.